these protests. Some people are talking about leaving now. So like, this isn't some like universally accepted thing, despite the political affiliations here. So it's like, I think this is going to get more of a backlash than people think. Like, I think there are certain people who will get vaccinated just because they're like, okay, fine, if it means I can have my life back. But there are other people who are going to push back. I mean, and then there's other people, like I have a friend who's pregnant. She can't get the vaccine. Her doctor told her not to get it because there could be complications. Yeah, I think you heard recently about the Offspring. The drummer got kicked out of the band because he didn't get
Yeah.
the vaccine. But the thing is, he can't have it because he has some condition where if he has it, it could cause serious problems. But it was so messed up because I saw like these idiots who read the New York Times were applauding it, and I'm like, the guy's livelihood is gone because he can't get a vaccine, which he can't get because it could wreck his health. It's like, there's going to be more and more backlash to this, the way I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a positive thing. This is I thought it was. I tried to classify it as like a Rosetta Stone of society, of civilization, because it's something that people across the world can look to and relate to and compare and contrast. This was done in this way due to certain structures and plans, and compare it to done to this kind of place. And then you can see certain things that people are thinking, oh, this is benefit. Like something like the booster shots being talked about right now. Is a booster shot a first world privilege? Like if people talk about there should be all this equity, why should Americans have a booster shot before, when you have most of the developing world has like 2% of their population is actually is what's it called is vaccinated? When you have the homeless people, why should somebody living in a Manhattan apartment for $5,000 or above a month get their vaccination before every single homeless person who doesn't have the ability to take shelter and social distance and things like this have at least their full vaccination? There are these dynamics that are going to test certain things that people would say would be working in a certain way. Now, if they talk about, oh, we need these international organizations, oh, we've had these international. Look at the WHO. What do you do this? So people understand, like, yes, we understand the benefit of having this, but are these the systems? Are these the principles? Are there principles even in existence here? Are these the structures that we need? Because these structures are not pointless. They're not useless. But to have a simulacrum of that structure, a structure that's there that makes you think that thing is actually taken care of, is worse than not having it at all. Because if there's nothing there, you either factor in for that not being there. If you realize that there's no back door, you'll realize like, oh, somebody can sneak it. Like, yeah, let me say, if you're in the woods and you realize that, okay, you're in there by yourself, whenever there's a sound coming from any area, you'll look around. But once you start realizing, okay, I know there's somebody to my right, I know there's somebody to my left. If there's a sound from behind you, that's the one you'll pay attention, because on right and left, you have confidence that those people are taken care of. The state in the United States of America is so ubiquitous that so many people who had the most trust in it, and the highest fear in something like a pandemic, who've trusted these structures, they've been let down the most. I'm not let down by that stuff. You're not let down because we didn't trust these people to begin with.
No, no.
But we realize they're kind of failures. Like the system itself is inherently not able. It just doesn't have the cost benefit analysis to select a effective system. That's why we've been advocating for these other things. That's why we've been advocating for liberty. But the people who've been reliant on them, who really had belief that that guy's got my back, that guy's got my back, that guy's in the right, I got drones over me checking me out. But now they realize the people in the drones don't know how to fly them. The people on the right and left are really just looking at their phone, or they're actually blind, not paying attention. The people who say they had the back actually decided to sit down and is actually talking to somebody else in there. And then you thought you were safe. And then the threat happened and you realized that nothing was there. And thankfully, this pandemic could have been a lot worse. This virus out there is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. It's going to be it's going to go along with some things like the flu, things like the cold to a lesser degree, seasonal type of things that come around and harm people. It seems to something, unless it mutates in a really odd way and just goes out of the way, that's unlikely to happen. I don't think we'll get to the point where we eradicate it like a polio type of thing for at least a couple of decades. But once that, if that happens, but it could have been a lot worse. But now that people have had that scare, and luckily they've now realized, many of these people have realized that these people we thought had a system, they're not going to reduce their want of people to secure them, of having a community, having a civilization, having those social constructs. But now they're going to go to the point where they're going to now finally demand that you actually make sure that person's got your back. Make sure that drone flying above is actually checking things out. Because when that actual threat, those threats that are still out there, happen, you want to now be sure that you're not going to trust these weak kind of people that you thought were out there. And that's a positive thing. At least that's one thing that I might just be completely just lying to myself, but I see no reason to believe that is not true. And you can let me know. And this is things you're talking about.
The thing that I always think of this is, we're talking about the FDA, and like, it's sort of like the who will build the roads thing. Like Milton Friedman addressed this decades ago, I think like maybe towards the end of his life, but like people act like if you take away the FDA, it's not like companies are going to stop labeling what's on their products. It's like if you're just selling like unlabeled bottles of pills, nobody's going to go there and buy them. Like, do you really think these standards are just going to disappear? Like, yes, there is a chance that people could be exposed to things that aren't as good, but there's ways to do it through, like, people have talked about ideas with the insurance companies. There's certain like legal liabilities, like if you produce a drug and someone gets sick, they could be sued. There could be multiple rating agencies. Like, there are solutions to deal with this, like best pills, worst pills already exist. I mean, imagine if you had multiple organizations like that all reviewing things and they all gave it, like, they passed with flying colors, you would know it's a good thing, instead of you have to have millions, tens of millions of dollars to get a drug approved. You have to wait months, and then it's like that it can only be produced. We're relying on a handful of massive companies that have power over us. It's like, but people just take it for granted. Oh, we have the FDA. Without it, we'll have bad food and drugs. And it's like, there are other alternatives here. And again, if you're so progressive, you should be questioning this stuff and thinking of like, what are other ways you could do this? I mean, this is why we have innovation, entrepreneurship. People identify problems and solve them. It's like, if people didn't do that, we would never have actual progress. Oh.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. This has been a clip from an actual longer recording that I'll try to leave a link to on the screen or somewhere around here where you're listening to this.
Pendants. 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 Pendants.
Peasants.
Okay. Okay.